Yeah, this has all spectacularly backfired on him, hasn't it? I don't know who told him to give the all-tell interview advice. He's wrote a book, really. I mean, he's had the public opinion. He had a best-selling book. They were on his side. People wanted to hear about his story, but people are tired of hearing about Harry moaning in the grand scheme of things when there are so many bigger stories happening in the world right now. People are struggling to pay their bills in the
What was that, Mike? What was that?
Oh my God. Well,
does this man have anyone protecting him in the media space? I mean, where's your publicist that steps in and says, we promised you 10 minutes, it's been 30?
Yeah.
I mean, I could go on and on.
A separate board from RAVEC that considers all of the facts and all the circumstances. It is a system and an assessment that is designed to be non-biased and to avoid interference.
Okay, let's just say it out loud. That BBC interview was not an interview. It was a full-blown royal meltdown. Prince Harry didn't just stumble through it. He combusted emotionally, publicly, and spectacularly. And the entire world watched as the curtain lifted on what many are calling a royal delusion. Forget grace, forget humility. This was bitterness served cold, with Meghan's fingerprints all over it.
of course, Prince Harry, who's back in the news because he decided, rather unwisely it would now appear, to give an interview to the BBC last Friday. The BBC, of course, were very happy to have anything that they could put on their news programmes without having to refer to...
Right from the first question, it was obvious this wasn't going to be the charming, vulnerable Harry we were promised. Nope. This was Harry, raw and rattled, launching into territory so awkward even seasoned interviewers were shifting in their seats.
But Pandora, speaking of Harry, a YouGov poll this week shows that Harry's popularity has sunk following his BBC interview. Hardly surprising.
Once upon a time, Harry had public sympathy on his side. He was the grieving son who lost his mother, the rebel prince who fought for his love. He was given grace, patience, forgiveness. But that tank is empty now. And in a country fighting inflation, strikes, and political tension, his Woe Is Me tour live from his multi-million-dollar Montecito mansion feels insulting.
That his father doesn't take his calls anymore, by the way. Don't forget, in the Netflix series, Meghan actually says Harry lost his dad.
Yeah.
And then he said in the Oprah Winfrey interview that his dad stopped taking his calls back in 2021.
Right.
However,
and here's where it got laughable. One moment, he's blaming his father, King Charles, for cutting off his security. The next, he's begging for reconciliation. You can't have it both ways. You don't call someone a villain, then cry about them not hugging you. That's not reconciliation. That's PR wrapped in contradiction.
Royal, who's had everything given to him his whole entire life, and now he's had a little bit of taking it away. Now he's complaining about it on our biggest broadcaster in the UK, our publicly funded broadcaster.
This wasn't a confessional. It was a glossy pity parade, and everyone noticed. The public reaction? Exhaustion. People aren't mad anymore. They're just done. It's like deja vu with a side of delusion. Another interview, another tale of woe, another reality-bending monologue about how unfair royal life was. But no one's clapping anymore.
To begin with this, but it's not a surprise that this has backfired spectacularly in a poll. Will he hear about the poll? I'm told that the PR team with Harry and Meghan...
Instead of appearing brave or vulnerable, he looked lost, clinging to memories and grudges while the world has clearly moved on. Whatever Harry hoped to gain from this, it did the exact opposite. He didn't bridge gaps, he dug them deeper. A strategic disaster? That's putting it nicely.
Some bits of press, so, and we know his opinion on press, so whether he's actually going to listen to this poll or not, I've got no idea. But I think...
And ooh, those poll numbers, absolutely brutal. Fresh off this BBC bomb, a new YouGov poll slammed him with rock-bottom approval ratings. Not just from tabloids, from the very people who used to adore him. The spare who once had everyone's heart has officially worn out his welcome.
He still does get security. He just needs to put in a 28-day to 30-day notice and give reason, and then they will give him some sort of security. But he's saying obviously that holds him back from bringing his wife and his children to the UK as well, which I can completely understand and do get that. But that's why it has gone through all the legal processes.
He was the cheeky, rule-breaking prince, the one who honored his mother's legacy with quiet dignity, the war veteran, the relatable royal. That guy's gone. What's left is someone moaning about his tragic prince life while sipping tea beside an infinity pool.
I haven't had a risk management board assessment done for me over the last 5 years. Everybody else within this group of people get it.
In the UK, where people are literally skipping meals, Harry's cries for sympathy sounded like a slap in the face. I need royal protection. Meanwhile, families are choosing between heating their homes or feeding their kids. Get a grip.
I guess now it's on the government to intervene if needed. We know that he's written a letter to Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary in the UK, so we're just going to have to wait, and maybe that will swing the polls again. But right now, it's...
Then came the truly bizarre plot twist. Reports say Harry was ringing doorbells around London like a confused teenager, trying to visit an old friend who'd moved away, a high-profile royal knocking on random doors like he's lost on a scavenger hunt. What is happening?
That's in 2021. One of the first things my lawyer said to me was, as disclosure started, or as this process started, she turned around and said, "Did you know that the royal household sat on Ravek?" And my jaw hit the floor.
For someone so obsessed with privacy and safety, this behavior was the opposite of that. Was it desperation? A stunt? Or is Harry actually unraveling in front of us? The public is confused and honestly kind of concerned.
Riley, great to see you.
Great to be back.
So Prince Harry's former friend Ben Goldsmith has spoken out following Harry's recent...
But whatever it was, the message was crystal clear. The public isn't falling for it anymore. The victim act, the contradictions, the royal bashing from a guy who still wants royal perks, no one's buying what he's selling. Not anymore.
He now claims that the reason that his dad doesn't speak to him is because of the security row, which is obviously not true, because that wasn't the case, as you say, when he spoke to Oprah Winfrey, and it's not the case.
And the obsession with security, it's becoming embarrassing. He left royal duties, he torched those bridges, he built a new life in California, and yet here he is demanding the same taxpayer-funded protection he walked away from. Sir, let it go.
...interview with the BBC. What did he have to say?
Yes, so Ben Goldsmith is someone really from Harry's old life. His sister, Jemima Goldsmith, was a very, very close friend of...
When his lawsuit to get royal-level security back failed, most would have licked their wounds and moved on. But Harry, he doubled down on air. This BBC interview wasn't growth, it was a tantrum. A polished, expensive, strategic tantrum. Let's be real, he's not the only non-working royal without security. Others accepted it and moved on, but Harry still believes he's entitled to special treatment. Because this isn't about safety, it's about control. It's about clinging to the last glimmer of royal status while pretending to be a freedom-fighting exile. He left the cage, but now he wants the key back. He can't have both. This whole security saga feels less like concern for his family and more like an unhealthy obsession. It's not love, it's not protection, it's fixation. And it's showing. And the irony, it's painful. Harry bashes the monarchy, calls it outdated, toxic, elitist, but still wants all its luxuries. Armored vehicles, guards, prestige. Pick a lane, Harry. This isn't bravery. It's not even entitlement. It's a refusal to evolve, a refusal to face reality. And worse, it's starting to feel like a complete detachment from truth. The longer he clings to this victim narrative, the more pathetic it looks. And speaking of control, guess who's all over this interview without even being in it? Meghan. Oh yes, her silence louder than words. This BBC interview was supposed to be a reset, a moment of honesty. Instead, it exposed just how far gone he is. From reality, from his roots, from the public who once cheered for him. Whether it was a cry for help or a choreographed media maneuver, one thing's crystal clear. Harry's no longer the man the world once adored. The lovable rogue? Gone. The soldier prince? Nowhere to be seen. What we're left with is someone who seems trapped by ego, by bitterness, and worst of all, by a narrative he refuses to let go of. Because let's be honest, if this was truly about healing, he would have picked up the phone, not the camera. But healing doesn't trend. Apologies don't sell books. Peace doesn't make headlines. So he chose drama again. And the cherry on top? Every time we think he's closing the door, he swings it back open with a fresh round of accusations, veiled jabs, and emotional landmines. I forgive them, he says with glossy eyes, right before torching them in another chapter, another interview, another lawsuit. Forgiveness? It's not a virtue anymore, it's a weapon. A polished soundbite wrapped in resentment. He wants us to believe he's moved on, but everything he does screams he's stuck. Stuck in the past, stuck in the pain, stuck in the cycle. And can we talk about Diana again? Because he made sure to bring her up, like clockwork. The name that always earns sympathy always stops critics in their tracks, but this time it didn't land, not the way it used to. People are starting to see through it. That sacred name? It's become a prop in Harry's ever-expanding theater of trauma. There was a time when invoking Diana brought tears. Now, it brings eye rolls. Because her legacy is being weaponized, overused, exploited. She deserved better, and so did we. Diana was hunted, trapped, alone. Meghan? She walked in, eyes wide open. She wanted the spotlight, she knew the stakes, and when it got uncomfortable, she left. Not in chains, but in Chanel. Comparing those two stories, it's not just misleading, it's offensive. And every time Harry tries to convince us it's the same, it chips away at Diana's real pain, her real danger, her real sacrifice. That's not a tribute, that's emotional hijacking. And here's where the hypocrisy hits hard. While the royal family stood tall during VE Day, honoring duty and sacrifice, Harry was on air spinning fairy tales of oppression from the safety of California. The contrast couldn't be more brutal. While his family wore medals, Harry wore a wounded expression and aired yet another list of royal wrongs. Timing, tone, zero awareness. It wasn't just a PR disaster, it was a moral misfire. And still he claims to want peace. Reconciliation, he says, healing. But how? When every olive branch is delivered with a dagger. When every plea for privacy is wrapped in a book deal or a Netflix contract. At this point, the contradiction is blinding. You don't get to be the victim and the villain. You can't cry about being silenced while screaming into every available mic. And yet, that's exactly what Harry's doing, over and over. Again, the truth is, this isn't about security. It's not even about family anymore. It's about control. Harry wants his version of truth to be the only truth, his pain to be the only pain, his narrative to be the headline forever. And when the world doesn't play along, he flips the script. They don't understand me, he says. They've abandoned me. But here's the twist. Harry didn't get abandoned. He isolated himself, he walked away from duty, he turned his back on tradition, and now he wants it all back, without the responsibility, the castles, the titles, the protection, just without the sacrifice. But royalty doesn't work like that. You don't get the crown without the weight. And that, right there, is the root of the disconnect. Harry wants to rewrite the rules of the monarchy to suit his comfort. He doesn't want to serve the crown. He wants the crown to serve him. And when it doesn't, he throws tantrums on international TV. What was once endearing is now exhausting. The public is worn out. Even the most loyal Sussex supporters are starting to ask, and it's definitely not justice. He's not seeking truth. He's seeking a spotlight. Even forgiveness has become a PR tool. He forgives King Charles right before slamming him. He forgives Prince William, then spills private text messages. Over and over, it's the same cycle. Cry, criticize, cash in, repeat. And now the audience is starting to tune out. The BBC interview was supposed to reset the public image. Instead, it cemented the downfall. You can't build bridges while burning them at both ends. And Meghan? She didn't even have to show up. Her absence was the performance, the puppet master behind the scenes, letting Harry unravel while she remains untouched. Her name isn't mentioned, but her influence is screaming. Meghan doesn't need to say a word. She already runs the show. And Harry, he's just the opening act. This is no longer a story about estrangement or misunderstood royals. It's become something darker, a slow-mission identity crisis playing out on red carpets and streaming services. And as Harry spirals deeper into his own narrative, the people he claims to want back, they've stopped listening. King Charles, radio silence. William, done trying. The firm, quiet, composed, and completely disengaged from the drama. And that's what really stings. Harry's shouting into a void now because every time he talks, the damage gets worse. Not just for the monarchy, not just for his father or his brother, but for himself. The once relatable prince has turned into a cautionary tale, a man who had it all and traded it for attention. This latest interview, it didn't make Harry look brave. It made him look bitter, broken, and blind to how far he's fallen. And behind him always stands the ever-smiling shadow of Meghan. Silent, watchful, powerful, and the scariest part, Harry doesn't even see it. He thinks he's fighting for freedom. He thinks he's exposing injustice, but in reality, he's the only one left fighting against ghosts, against a family that's moved on, against a public that's no longer buying it. So while the world commemorates heroes, while his father and brother carry on with dignity, while the monarchy adapts and survives, Harry stands alone, angry, hurt, desperate to be heard, but the louder he shouts, the more distant his voice becomes. And if he doesn't stop soon, he won't just lose the crown. He'll lose everything. Fairy tale over. Audience gone. Mic dropped.